Hello, students in my graphic lit class. I'm making this recording in the summer of 2024, as you can see from the date on my New Yorker magazine. This is going to be like a little sneak preview of the kinds of things we'll be doing in graphic lit class. And I have a couple of other little things I want to do along the way to give you a taste of what we'll be up to and make some suggestions for what you choose to do in that class in your near future. So the New York magazine comes out every single week. Well, almost every single week. And to be the artist on the cover of the New Yorker magazine is a major coup for any artist. The artist of this particular cover is Adrian Tomine, who happens to be one of my favorite comics artists. He wrote the book Killing and Dying, which is one of the finest collections of graphic literature ever made. And Adrian Tomine is on my top 10 list of great cartoonists. This book also, I'm not assigning it as a textbook this semester, but I have used it as a textbook in the past, and it makes a good textbook. And it'll be on my short list of books that you can choose for your optional textbooks if you want. So keep that in mind. So anyway, Adrian Tomine is one of a number of famous cartoonists that the New Yorker publishes frequently. Another one is Chris Ware, and we will have an assignment later on centered on a Chris Ware cover from past years of the New Yorker. But anyway, so this caught my eye, and possibly because I knew it was Adrian Tomine. I recognized his style, but then of course his name is also on it. Possibly I spent a little bit more time looking at it than I would have otherwise. My understanding of this cover, which you could call it a comic, I mean, maybe. It's certainly a comic style, a cartoony style. My understanding of it went in two stages. One where I was just looking at the picture, and then a second stage that happened after I flipped the cover open and looked at the title that Adrian Tomine gave to this piece of art, this magazine cover. One of the things that makes this class coherent, in my mind, is that I think of it as the words plus pictures class, right? There are art forms which consists of words and pictures together on the same page, or nearly on the same page. In sort of conventional comics, there's the words and they're right inside the pictures, inside the panels in the form of, word balloons or captions or whatever. And this is not that, but the words that go with this, namely the title, is only one flip of a page away. So this falls into that same category too. And even, you could even put paintings into that same category if you want to think of it that way. Because a painting, typically anyway, painting that you see in a museum, it'll have a title off to the side of the painting, and you can look at the title either before or after, or both before and after you study the painting itself. So anyway, and the title of a work influences how you see it. For purposes of my class, I will not allow you to turn in untitled work. All right, so the first phase of my reading of this chunk of visual information is something like as follows. It's the New Yorker magazine, and quite frequently, their covers are nothing more or less meaningful than a kind of a celebration of the season. And so this is just after the official start of summer. June 21st, I think, is the first day officially. Uh, and this is a summer scene. And here's these people walking around and enjoying themselves in the summer, which in New York, unlike the Rio Grande Valley, that's a thing. Summer is the good weather part of the year, not the terrible weather part of the year. And because it's New York, I make the assumption that this is Central Park. These are people walking around on the sidewalk in Central Park. It might be that an actual person who knows New York very well, lives in New York, might even be able to recognize this exact spot. But I am not such a person, and maybe it isn't anyway. I seriously doubt that Adrienne Tomine used models and staged this and drew it from actual life. I think this is an imagined scene, but it could be he took a reference photograph of like this spot and then put these imagined people in there. And here's the, all of the summer greenery of the park in the background. It's blurred out a little bit because that's not the focus of our attention. The focus of our attention is the people. I am a little embarrassed to say that in my first glance at this, I did not put it together that we're supposed to understand all of these people as being together and that these are all members of a family. I just took it as, all right, here's a random shot of random pedestrians at Central Park, and here's several of them. But then when I looked at the title, and the title had its influence on me so that I interpreted it differently and looked more deeply, then it became obvious in hindsight that yes, these people are together. These four people, because she's got a baby on her back, or a youngish toddler, maybe. Somebody small enough to be carried in the backpack, more or less. These are all a family. This is the mom, the dad, the older daughter, and the younger, probably a son. I'm guessing by the hairstyle, though it doesn't necessarily matter very much. And like, I didn't pick up on it at first, but afterward I definitely did, and it seemed kind of obvious. You can see that the mom is a person of color, and the dad is as white as they come. The whitest white you can get. Julio, do you say? And the skin tones on this little kid is exactly halfway between their two skin tones. So he's the father and she's the mother of this little person. And I assume that they are also the father and mother of this slightly larger person. I guess she's around 10 years old, something like that. Maybe a smidgen less, maybe a smidgen more, but not a lot, or she'd be taller. Just pre-adolescent. I would, at a guess, I would say she's a tween or a near tween. Anyway, I am, in some ways, I'm not that skilled in my ability to make sense out of a visual tableau. Whether it's a picture or even when I'm just like looking out the window or out my car windshield, there are a lot of people who are more skilled at visual interpretation than I am. And I actually think that my slight, call it visual dyslexia, is maybe something that made comics so interesting to me. Starting when I was young and lasting for my whole life. There's just something about, I don't know, it's easier to read a comic than it is to read something that's drawn in a more realistic style. It's simplified, kind of iconic. We'll talk about that later in the semester too. So that's part of it. And then the like it, I don't know, it's more of an exercise for my brain to read a picture than it is to read words. I've always been super good at reading words, but reading pictures is a little harder, a little more challenging. And I don't know, I like something that's going on in my brain as I make the effort to read pictures. Anyway, so my visual dyslexia, oftentimes students of mine notice and interpret the visual stuff better than I can. So I urge you to participate actively and help me out when I need help. I had a little issue over here. At first, I didn't understand that this guy had both feet on the Segway and is riding it. I think that's the name for this kind of thing. Maybe it's something else. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, my eye, that this looks funny. It looks like he's got one foot on the ground. Or maybe it's an actual error in perspective that Adrian Tomine made. It doesn't matter very much, but it took me some study to figure out that, yeah, I think we're supposed to see him as having both feet on this thing. Another thing that I noticed at first blush is that both of these people are into pop music, I guess. Because they're both wearing band t-shirts, right? I am familiar with Taylor Swift. I know who Taylor Swift is, sort of. I did not try to look up Olivia, R-O-D, whatever it is, but I'm guessing that that's also a singer or something. Maybe somebody in class knows or wants to look it up, and I'll open up a discussion board on our Blackboard site, and you can pipe in with additional information if you want to. But I didn't bother to look it up. All three of these people are carrying containers. In this case, the thing she's using to carry the little boy in, and he's got what do you call it? A fanny pack or a belly bag slung around his shoulder, and she has a full backpack on, and I'm sure that the little boy on her back is heavier than this backpack, but when you think about the relative size of this person, this pack she's carrying looks pretty heavy to me. Like, is it full of heavy books? Like she's carrying in certain ways a heavier load than either of her parents are. And these two sweat drops coming out from her forehead. There's a technical term for that, invented by the cartoonist who did the cartoon Beetle Bailey. He calls these plewds, P-L-E-W-D-S. Anyway, the plewds on her forehead indicate that she's under some stress, which neither of her parents appears to be. She's also, of the three of them, the most conservatively dressed, and does not have a band t-shirt on. And, and her legs are fully covered by a type of pants that do not reveal her skin and don't have any holes in. Like both of her parents, her dad's got these big baggy shorts on, and her mom's wearing stylishly holey and frayed jeans, I guess, although they're not blue jeans, they're greenish jeans. Okay. You might note also the funky sunglasses the mom is wearing. The dad has got a listening device on his head. Looks like noise canceling headphones, so he's enjoying some kind of entertainment as he walks along. And both of the two of them are feeding their faces with what? We don't know for sure, but I'm willing to bet that hers is a gigantic soda. And his is probably some kind of sweet while you're exercising squeeze this goo into your mouth kind of thing. That's what it looks like to me anyway. Okay. So I'm going to turn the page now and reveal the title. This is Adrian Tomine's title. He calls this picture Eternal Youth. Okay. Eternal youth. Like I said, I didn't even see all of the things I just finished saying before I read the title. But in hindsight, it makes more sense to me having that title in my head, Eternal Youth. Well, these parents are not super duper young. They look to me like the type of people that planned their family where it was going to happen later in life after they were already professionally successful, so that they were yuppies, young urban professionals. You can see in the mom's face, you know, the lines on her forehead and here on her neck. You know, she didn't have these kids. Even the older one, she was probably at least well into her 20s when she conceived her oldest daughter. And maybe even as old as 30. Okay. And here she's having the second child, and I bet she never has more than two. I bet two is their max. Relatively late in life, after having already been established. This gal is not 20 something, and he's not either. They are at least in their late 30s, I think. Maybe even 40-ish. In previous generations, and maybe still in some parts of the country, it would be considered absurd for people that grown up to dress themselves in this way. This is like they are doing youthful styling and they have youthful interests, you know, Taylor Swift and whoever that is. She's got this stamp on her hand. I don't know if 13 means something in particular, but I'm thinking she was at a nightclub last night and got her hand stamped, you know, something like that. Or I mean, I guess it could be a tattoo, but I'm more inclined to think I like my nightclub hypothesis. So they are, although they are grown up and have responsibilities of grown-ups, presumably they have jobs that they work at, they must have to afford these expensive toys, right? They're continuing to pursue sort of the kind of interest that we typically ascribe to teenagers or very young people, going to concerts and stuff like that. And the youthful style in various ways, and the youthful consumption of sugary goods, if my guess is right. In contrast to them, the daughter is preoccupied, and what, is she going to summer school? Is that why she's lugging around these heavy books? Is she like concerned about her future? You know, of the four of them, she's the one that looks like she has the most grown-up worries on her very young shoulders and is carrying the heaviest burden, both literally and figuratively. And so this notion of eternal youth, it's I don't think that Adrian Tomine wants for us to think these people are contemptible. But he's poking a little bit of fun at them. It's a gentle or mild satire about what adulthood means these days to this type of people in this location, and how the you know, your childhood is supposed to be the most carefree time of your life, and we often sentimentally pretend like that's what childhood is. But I can remember fretting my little head out about this thing or that when I was a kid, and including a kid as young as this, worrying about stuff that was going on at school or my future or my performance in various hobbies that I was taking up. I was taking a judo class for a while when I was a kid about her age, and I just worried my head out about not being good enough at judo, you know? And in hindsight, it feels like that was a silly thing for me to do. Like, why did I worry so much? Why didn't I just try to relax and enjoy it? But often kids don't relax and enjoy. And I think that's actually an extremely normal part of childhood. And when Adrian Tomine says eternal youth, he's not just poking fun at these people who are trying to hang on to their youth well into their adulthood. He's also sort of commiserating with the fact that childhood is not necessarily a delightful time in your life either, and that this is perennial. This is part of human nature, that young people suffer in some of the same ways that, you know, that we're supposed to. The idea is we try to, in their youth, we try to protect them from the stresses of adult life, but it doesn't work. You know, it never has and it never will. That's an eternal fact about youth. Anyway, that's my interpretation. I don't know for sure if we had Adrian Tomine here, if he would say, yes, Braithwaite, that's exactly what I meant. You have hit every nail on the head. And that's okay. This is me taking in what he gave me, both the pictures and the words, and making what I can out of it in my own mind. And maybe you in my class will make something different or want to argue back against some of my interpretations, and you can do that on the blackboard. As long as I have you here, I'm just going to give you a little advertisement for the New Yorker. In the past, I have sometimes used the New Yorker as a textbook because you can get a student subscription to the New Yorker that lasts 12 weeks, and it's just perfect for a semester. I did not make it a required textbook this semester, but I am going to make it one of the optional textbooks. And you might keep that in mind if you find this kind of thing appealing at all. It's a pretty cheap way to get one of your optional textbooks taken care of. Typically, their student rate for a person who hasn't had a subscription before is 12 weeks for $12. That's the advertised rate. But if you look around online and wait a few weeks and look again and keep on Googling, you can often get it for half price, which is 12 weeks for only $6, which is a great deal for a magazine. Magazines cost more and more these days. And we might be living in the last generation that even has magazine journalism to speak of. I hope not, because a magazine is a beautiful art form all unto itself. And the New Yorker in particular, I would really hate to see it go extinct like the dinosaur. Anyway, the New Yorker is famous for its covers. It's famous also for its contents. It's in part a news magazine and in part a culture magazine. Almost every issue of the New Yorker, they have special issues a couple times a year where they do a special thing, but this is just a typical issue. And it has a couple of pieces of in-depth journalism, one short story. This is by Roddy Doyle. I'm not a super big fan of Roddy Doyle. I probably won't even read this. 2 poems, typically. Joyce Carol Oates is someone I admire a lot. And several book reviews. I'm particularly looking forward to reading the review of Anthony Fauci's memoir that just came out. And another thing it has is every issue about a dozen cartoons. I'll just spend another minute here on the table of contents. In Search of Lost Time, John Lennon's Stolen Watch. In Search of Lost Time is a reference to one of my favorite series of novels of all time by Marcel Proust. Anyway, never mind. That's off topic. But I'm kind of interested in this just because of the title, even though I'm not sure I care that much about John Lennon's Stolen Watch. Although I'm interested in John Lennon, so I'll probably read it. They've got this humor piece. There's always a humor piece in a typical magazine. Article on nano machines. I'm interested in that. I'll definitely read that. This piece about Ecuador and drug trafficking. That's, I might read that, might not. I'm like everybody who lives in the world has got some amount of interest in drugs and laws about drugs and dangerous people. But this might be a little bit more specific than I feel like I really need to know. Okay. Eels. I saw something about eels recently. Okay. Book reviews and reviews of the music scene and theater also, and a review of a movie. So like all around, like people who are interested in highbrow culture, you get a sense of what's going on in the world by reading the New Yorker. And it is a great cultural education. Okay. These down here at the bottom, where it says drawings, that is their highfalutin word for it. That includes cartoons. They're putting the cartoons in this same category of drawings. The New Yorker is, it's a publication of special importance in the history of cartoons. It's been around since I think, I haven't looked this up. I'm going to say just after the turn of the century. I'm certain it goes back at least to the 20s and maybe further. So it's been around for more than a century, and it shaped the world of what cartoons could be. And there are people who make a living doing cartoons for the New Yorker. One of them being Roz Chast, who appears on the list of drawings here. And one of our assigned textbooks is by Roz Chast. Okay, so if you, like me, are deeply interested in comics and cartoons, the New Yorker is a good publication for you too. All right. A lot of the front part of the magazine is ads, and some of them are quite specific to people who live in New York. The talk of the town can be quite New York specific too, and I don't even always read the whole thing there. But here's the first cartoon proper by this person, Ali. What was it? Ali Solomon. I'm not leaving you. I'm spending the day at the beach. Cute, but not deep. This wouldn't be one I would cut out and put on my office door. This one, Sketchpad by Liana Fink. Liana Fink happens to be one of my favorite cartoonists that frequently appears in the New Yorker. I'm going to make a PDF of this and ask a question about it on an assignment that we do. I think this is a fun cartoon. New titles from Hypocrisy Press. And just look at all 6 of them and see how each one makes sense under that heading. And you might also consider taking this as a template for yourself, like you too could draw up new titles from Hypocrisy Press, right? This is the John Lennon article, and it's got a picture with it too. Again, words and pictures are being combined, not in the way that they are in a comic or a cartoon, and but this picture being put with the article, it doesn't contribute in the same way the words do, but it contributes something to your experience of the article. Now this little cartoon by Tim Hunt on this page. This I just love. I just love it. So we're reading down like diagonally here. And in the first, I don't know if panel is the right word, but the first image anyway, is this guy he's got a fishing rod in his hand, and here's a fishing line, and he's fixing to cast out the line. And here he is, like, I don't know what you would call it. He's winding up for the cast, and now he's made the cast, and out goes the line, shooting over there into where I guess there'll be water and fish out there, but we're not shown that. You just have to kind of imagine that on the understanding of that's what fishing is. And you see the line like unfurling itself and going rightward on the page. And here you realize that line is somehow connected to the lines that make up this line drawn figure. And as the line spools out on that end, is taking up lines from out of him. It's like a Harold and the Purple Crayon in reverse. And he is being erased more and more as the line goes further out that direction, so that there's nothing left of him by the fifth and final panel, or almost nothing left. It sends a chill down my spine. It's funny in a way, but not in the usual way. It's like almost, I don't know, philosophical or metaphysical, like what if kind of thing. Okay. I hope you all know what Harold and the Purple Crayon is. If not, Google it up or take a look at it at the library. It's been around. That was a children's book even when I was a child, more than half a century ago. There are a number of other spot drawings in here. This is not a cartoon in the usual sense, but it's like just a whimsical little note. I think that here where it says Spots by Victor Guan, I think that's what they mean. I think Victor Guan drew all of the spots. Every article, some kind of image. Here's another one of the spot drawings of, another environment in which you might run into one of these plastic shopping bags with the smiley face on it. And here's another environment. Yeah, and it's just kind of fun. It enhances the reading experience as you go along, and like if you're sharp-eyed enough, you notice the theme. Obviously, news here. And there. Here's some like instant one paragraph book reviews, which is nice if you like to know about what are new books coming out that smart people are interested in. It's good information, particularly for a person who hopes to be a creative writer, as many of my students do. This looks interesting, and I'm very fond of Adam Gopnik, so I will probably read this too. And another spot drawing and another cartoon. I like this one pretty well. Again, mild satire about, you know, trendy salsas with hip names. I think that's it for the regular cartoons. On the very back page, they have this other feature. This has been going on for about a decade, if I recall correctly, where a thing about the New Yorker is it's always the same person who does the drawing and who makes the joke in their one panel cartoons. But in the cartoon caption contest, they have an artist make a drawing, but they haven't put the words to it yet. It's our job, the readers, to invent words that will make this into a snappy cartoon. And here's the one for this week. Well, by the time you see this, it'll be far in the past and too late. But the people who read this in the week of June 24th can send in their captions, and a team of readers at the New Yorker will go through all those reader submitted captions and pick out 3, which they will print in next week's magazine, like they have done here for, last week, this one was up there. And then you can go on the New Yorker website and vote for which one of those 3 is the winner. And then the following week, it'll appear over here, the winning caption, and the person who submitted it will get their name in the New Yorker, which is a nice little feather in your cap. Okay. I have now said everything I want to say for the moment about New Yorker comics, New Yorker cartoons, New Yorker covers, and why I recommend the New Yorker, particularly in a student subscription, to a person who wants to educate themselves, either as a cartoonist or a writer more generally. Yeah, that's it for now. Check the website frequently, and we will build on this conversation moving forward into the future. Good meeting you all. And I will get the website up and running as quick as I can, and you can check out the syllabus and anything else you might be interested to know about how this class is going to work. Stop my share. And I stop the recording.